How's it going, Bigger Pockets? Jamil Damji back here again with my brother and best friend, Pace Morby. And in the last video, we went over creative ways to acquire real estate. Pace, why don't you walk us through these again?
Okay, so everybody knows that you can buy properties with cash or go out and get a hard money loan or a loan in general, right? That is what I call cash. Creative finance is pretty powerful because we can buy sub-2, seller finance, hybrid, which is a combination of those two, executory contracts. Haven't talked about that in depth, but lease options, most people know about, novations, Morby method, and you can actually acquire and manage and negotiate with short sales. So creative finance will amplify your tools on the front end when you're acquiring deals. And all of these are acquisition strategies to acquire more deals, especially in a down market.
Right. Now, what we want to get into today is, let's just say, for instance, you purchase a house and maybe you're stuck with it, right? For instance, we just fixed and flipped some houses and we are having a hard time selling them. And rather than take a hit right now, because of course the market is trending down and we want to take an exit on our fix and flip, but if we take an exit on our fix and flip right now, we're going to write a check. We're going to be writing a big check actually, and that's not ideal for us as a business. You want to make money, not lose money. And so our goal is to hold some of these properties as rentals. But when we look at the standard rental rate, we're going to be feeding these properties a tremendous amount of money in order to break even, right? And so it's still gonna be a loss. However, I've heard there's a better way to cash flow properties at a higher yield rather than just a standard long-term rental, and that you know some of these strategies. And so what I'd like to do is share with the Bigger Pockets audience some of these strategies to extract all the juice from a property that you're holding for rent.
So what you're talking about is a cash deal that you purchased, you bought with cash or with a hard money loan, and you went to fix and flip that, and you found out, oh my gosh, the market went down, fix and flip, I'm gonna have to write a check to get rid of this house.
Yes.
So obviously, I can't wholesale it, I can't fix and flip it, I already tried to develop it. So what you're talking about is, if I decide I need to keep this property because a fix and flip now went down. In fact, I have a deal just like this. A house that we thought we were going to fix and flip for $500,000 and sell for $500,000 is now being appraised at about $420,000.
Right.
I'm not in the business of writing a big fat juicy check to get rid of properties.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is, well, why don't we do the BRRRR strategy? And if you're a Bigger Pockets viewer and audience member, you know what the BRRRR strategy is. However, what Jamil's thing is he's saying, if you just turn this into a regular rental, the cash flow on the regular rental could potentially, especially with interest rates today, not pencil and actually make this deal not good for a fix and flip and not good for a traditional rental.
Exactly.
So what are some other strategies that we can utilize? Okay, here's a couple of more. Section 8, pretty good. Not the best, but you can get a little bit more. You can usually get about 5 to 10% more on a Section 8 than you could on a regular rental. Okay. For that exact reason, I don't do a lot of Section 8 because I like the other ones a lot more. Okay, I love sober living. Sober living is amazing because I don't have to operate the property.
Oh, so you're not actually dealing with the clients. No. You're not having to make sure they're sober. None of that. You actually bring somebody else into the property.
I'm 100% off. What I do is I go to sober living companies. You guys can just quickly look online and look for sober living companies. They are out there. They're looking for properties to sublease or lease from you. And so I have a property right now, this exact situation. The cash flow will break even on a regular rental. However, because in sober living, I can charge usually double the rent rate for a sober living house. Now that property is cash flowing about $1,500 a month. I have no management on it. Wow. The sober living company manages the property themselves. Okay. And what's great about sober living too, and women's shelters, is not only you're providing a need and you're helping out the market, but you're getting paid for it. And then on top of it, they are not that picky of a client. A regular rental, a traditional rental, they're gonna be calling for repairs. I put in my sober living contracts that they're in charge of all their repairs.
So they handle all the maintenance?
All the maintenance.
Even if they have a roof leak or...
If there's like a major roof leak, or I'm sorry, if there's a major repair, I take care of it because it's the building.
But like a light bulb or a leaky faucet or, the toilet's running.
Somebody punches a hole in the wall or a door falls off the hinges, a broken window, I don't touch any of that stuff.
That's amazing.
What's great about this is that when I can't Airbnb, which is also another really great way to amplify, because the neighborhood is really bad. This is actually what happened on this property. The neighborhood was good for families, but it's not good for an Airbnb.
Okay.
So what I did is I go, okay, Airbnb is out.
Okay.
I went to sober living because sober living is typically double whatever my rent rate is.
Okay.
Okay, and the way that we work this is the average 3-bed, 2-bath house in sober living can get about 9 tenants inside, okay?
Okay.
Each tenant pays the sober living company $650 per month for each bed, not bedroom, per bed.
How many beds do they fit in the bedroom?
9. Well, they'll usually put 2 in the living room and then sparse the other 7 out between 3 bedrooms. So 2, 2, and 3. If there's a big primary bedroom, they'll put 3 beds around, and they're giving these people good ample space, but they're bringing in upwards of $6,000 a month in income on a property that I can only really rent on a regular rental for about $1,500. So I go to them, I go, you pay me $3,000, I'll let you do your sober living in here, but I'm hands off.
Awesome.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Really good amplified cash flow for me. No maintenance and management on my side as well.
Awesome.
Okay, what's also good about this is if you want to go assisted living and behavioral health, I don't think you should go this route for operating either, because now you're getting into the world where there's big money here.
Okay, but probably licensing as well.
Licensing, you got to have dietitians and nurses and actual doctors on staff. This is something I did for 2 years. You remember this back in the day. I owned multiple properties I acquired on seller finance, and I turned them into assisted living and behavioral health. These properties make a lot of money, but I don't think you want to be dealing with people that are passing away in the evening and getting those calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. It just wasn't a fun business for me to run. However, I still to this day have 2 properties, 1 assisted living and 1 behavioral health, that I rent out to assisted living and behavioral health companies.
Okay, what do they pay you on a multiple for like standard rent?
Same thing, double. It's double. They make so much more money, but they need to, because the amount of money that they bring in has to pay for all these massive payrolls that they have. The average assisted living and behavioral health house has 5 employees on staff for 1 house. So corporate rental and midterm stuff is really good too, because you have traveling nurses. In fact, if you have a house that's not going to cash flow on a regular rental, you go to Airbnb. What could be a potential Airbnb won't let me do this in this neighborhood type of situation?
Like run a business?
Run a business or HOA.
HOA?
A lot of HOAs say no Airbnbs, no VRBOs. This just happened in Atlanta.
Yep.
So I have 15 Airbnbs in Atlanta, and guess what? Atlanta just passed the law. So if laws are being passed in your local area of no more Airbnbs, no short-term rentals, which is, I believe, one of the best cash flowing avenues, you can jump to a midterm rental, which you go to Furnished Finder is a really good one, or you go to insurance companies. So what happens is, let's say that me in my house or you in your house, you have a hot water heater, floods your whole house. You call your insurance company, you go, I need a place to live. They're not going to send you to a hotel. They're going to send you to one of my properties for a midterm rental. They're going to say, we need to renovate your property. We need to give you something like, and they pay for, the insurance company pays me to have you live in my property for 3, 4, sometimes upwards of 10 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal money.
Okay, and what's the multiple there? Like,
okay, the multiple there is about 1 point, for me, if you look at an Airbnb, which is the most amplified, okay, the Airbnb is typically triple, okay, 3 times what I could get on a normal rental is Airbnb.
Okay.
In a really good, amazing area, you can get up to 4x, but I would say my average Airbnb is 3 times the normal rental.
Okay.
So if somebody says, hey, Pace, I have a house that could rent for $1,800, or let's say $1,500 for math, I know on an Airbnb I could bring in $4,500.
Got it.
In a really good area, I know I could bring in $6,000.
Got it.
Okay. For behavioral health, for corporate rental and midterm, you're usually going to you're going to discount that about 10 to 12% off of the Airbnb you could get for corporate rental and midterm. I actually, to tell you the truth, I actually am starting to prefer corporate rental and midterm, because although it would be nice to bring this 3,000 or 3x multiplier from a rental, or this 4x multiplier, guess what I also have?
Well, you're in hospitality.
Hospitality.
Yeah, you're gonna deal with, I gotta have the little shampoos there. I gotta have the soaps, and I gotta have Keurig coffees, and I gotta have all the amenities, all the things. And if somebody locks themselves out, they're calling you. I locked myself out, I need a key. Or, hey, the cable's out. Can you get somebody over here to help me with the TV? It's really a hospitality business. It's not being a landlord.
Right, and here's what I can tell you the difference. So I have a property in Las Sendas, right? My house on Sterling. You guys both know my house on Sterling.
I know the house, yep.
I get a letter from the HOA. HOA says, no more Airbnb, the neighbors are complaining. So what do? I convert my Airbnb to a midterm rental. So I put it on Furnished Finder. And then I also reached out to the insurance companies that also will put me in their database so they call me when somebody has a flood or a fire or something else happens, right? So here's the difference between these two tenants. This tenant will complain if there's a weird smell in the house. This tenant, you forget that they're even there, and when you drive, this literally happened for Halloween just a couple of months ago. I drove by because I didn't hear from anything. Nobody was complaining about the property for months. And I drive by and I look at the front of the house and it has a scarecrow and a pumpkin.
Oh, they decorated it.
They decorated it.
Wow.
That's the major difference between corporate rental and midterm, is because these are traveling nurses. These might be airline pilots. These might be, a lot of people will go and be a guest professor at another college.
Right.
And the college will say, come live here for 6 months, we'll find you a midterm rental. Or you and I being on a TV show, most of the people that live in Arizona for our TV show came from other parts of the country.
Right, they would need a place to live. So A&E could find them a midterm rental.
Right.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
A&E will never go to Airbnb because, again, they're going to pay 10 to 12% more money. But Airbnb will go to Furnish Finder all the time. In fact, when you ask the crew on our TV show how much or where did they find the housing, they said, oh, they just go to Furnish Finder.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you got student housing here as the last way to creatively hold property. How does that work? And is there specific locations that this works better for? And what's the multiple there opposed to a long-term rental?
Okay, so student housing is very similar to a sober living, okay? You're typically gonna get about double what your rent rate is because you're not renting by the room and you're not renting by the house anymore, you're renting by the bed. Okay, so if you have a big enough house, you can have 2 people in a bedroom, right? So you're actually renting per bed. The challenge with this in student housing is there's a lot more turnover in student housing.
And they're only there for the year that they're in school.
Right, summer, holidays, etc. So in the summer, what they do is they wanna do weird leases where they're only leasing the property from you for 9 months and then they go home for the summer.
Right.
Right, and so what we've tried to do we have one student housing. I've actually made a departure from student housing because I found that midterm, corporate, and sober living is better for my business strategy. But the one student housing that I have right now, it's over by GCU, Grand Canyon University. It makes really great money. It's about a double factor of a normal rental. And the 3 months that I have vacant, what I do is I have solar salespeople come in for that summer and they stay in. But again, it's management, it's finding those people. And I have to have somebody on my team that's looking for and filling those properties. I kind of want to build an automated business. And so again, I like corporate rental midterm, sober living for the amplified cash flow, the creative way of finding more cash flow. And I like the fact that I'm solving a problem in both of these situations that nobody else is solving.
Incredible, guys. Again, one of the most amazing things about real estate is that even when things are going not the best, there's so many incredible, amazing ways to still make a substantial amount of money. So you get yourself into a fix and flip. It turns on you. You've got all of these different ways to be able to hold that property and not actually have to take a big kick in the teeth. Pace, thank you so much for enlightening all of us about the creative ways to purchase houses in a down market, and then also how to get out of sticky situations using these incredible creative techniques on holding properties. Pace, how do people from the Bigger Pockets world find you?
They find me on Buy This, Not That on the main Bigger Pockets channel. In fact, we just hit 1 million freaking subscribers on Bigger Pockets, which is pretty freaking cool.
Amazing.
I'm so grateful to be a part of that. Jamil and I have this really fun buddy show. We get a lot of comments on that. So guys, go watch those videos. In fact, more importantly, you need to be submitting opportunities and properties to us so we can tell you whether you should buy this or you should buy that.
Thank you so much, Bigger Pockets, for tuning in, and we will see you again in one of our next installments. Until then, take care.